Hi, friends. I am preparing to lead session 6 of Creating Your Life as a Masterpiece. 4 sessions of this work are all about knocking down the walls of systems and what we carried from our family ancestry lines, culture that we come from, etc. Things that we didn't have a choice about. And now we're digging deep into what happened to us that has guided our sense of identity. Last week we did the first wall of ego, our sense of identity, our first sense of self. And we're going to review that today. And then we're going to go into this relational part of our identity. But I want to say a couple of things about ego, because that word is tossed around so much that I think if I don't say something, I'm doing a disservice. For example, in psychology, and I'm actually getting this off of internet, it says in psychology, it's basically ego is the manager that tries to make good decisions between urges and rules. In common conversations, people use things like he has a big ego to mean that they have a very inflated sense of self-importance or self-esteem. In spiritual traditions, ego can refer to the false self. It's the idea of being separate from others and from the larger whole. In this view, the ego is something to transcend, dissolve, or see through experience of deeper unity, truth, or freedom. And that's how I see ego. It's this sense of self that came out of conditioning rather than who we really are. There are 3 major flavors of the ego: fight, flight, or freeze. And we tend to like people who have either similar or complementary ego. So if people fight the scenes, those of us who are fighters can escape dealing with ourselves as fighters because they flee the scene. And so we don't have to deal with ourselves and the impacts of being a fighter and what that does to the other human being. Similarly, people that fight the scenes don't have to deal with the fighters because they're gone. They're like isolated and they don't have to deal with what the impact is of people being dominant or domineering with them. We have found a way to compensate for ego-driven world and to navigate it. Because we know how to navigate it, for the most part, having an ego or being in your ego, you have this experience that something else has power over you. Circumstances, other people. You will feel powerless deep inside, or you will at all costs try to avoid feeling powerless, in which case you probably feel exhausted. And I'm just thinking of first people that I have on my mind. One ego in specific, it's like the person who is like continually spinning in circles. It's like always the same thing, always the same thing. This is how you know you are at the effect of your ego, because it's the pattern after pattern that is the same. Now, every attempt to look at the ego has ego get stronger. If your ego is more like a good girl type of person or a charmer, you're going to try to be even more charming. People often use humor, they use distraction to just not feel like they're on a spot. And there is an aspect of doing this work that kind of puts you on a spot. But it's putting you on a spot for the sake of what's possible. And the work is never about dismantling the ego or understanding how your identity is constructed. That in and of itself is not interesting. What is interesting is who is it that you want to be and what it is that you want to produce that is worth it.